My best friend was being stalked by a creepy stalker, and I suggested she call the police, but she happily refused. A Yandera's love is the ultimate form of devotion. Later, she started showing various injuries and became gloomy and easily triggered, fearing for her safety. I eventually called the police on her behalf. When she was rescued from the basement, she was on the brink of death, yet, as I reached out to help her, she plunged a knife deep into my heart. Who are you to meddle in the love between us Yanderas? A sharp pain surged through my entire body, and the world gradually faded away. Opening my eyes again, I returned to the moment my best friend said she was being followed. I was determined to get revenge, but everything set off a chain reaction. It seemed like I had caught the attention of a stalker too. After a wave of dizziness, I opened my eyes to find my best friend shaking my shoulders incessantly. Sure Qian, I've encountered a Yandera who's madly obsessed with me. Seeing her ecstatic expression, I realized I had been reborn. Regret seeped into every fiber of my being, but I masked the emotions in my eyes and smiled. Congratulations to you. My best friend was taken aback for a moment. I thought you would advise me to report it to the police, since your mindset has always been quite traditional. How could that be? While a healthy relationship is important, a twisted one is truly fascinating. To have someone who is completely devoted to you, I couldn't be happier for you. Yang Jing's eyes lit up. That's exactly what I think too. She excitedly headed out. I'm going to brag to my Yandera Alliance sisters. I'll make them so jealous. I was the only one left in the dorm, I gasped sharply, clutching my chest tightly. In my past life, when she mentioned being followed, I immediately tried to take her to the police, but she brushed my hand away, saying that a Yandera's love is the ultimate form of devotion. She fantasizes about a stalker who is affectionate, wealthy, and loyal, completely devoted to her. I advised her not to confuse reality with the romanticized version of Yanderas online, but she accused me of meddling and being jealous of her happiness, then blocked and deleted me, cutting off our friendship. I watched helplessly as she fell step by step into the stalker's trap, was mentally controlled by him, and tortured beyond recognition. I eventually called the police. When the police rescued her from the damp, dark basement, she was already emaciated to the bone, with half a dead mouse in her blood-soaked mouth. I went to help her, but she suddenly stabbed a hidden sharp knife deep into my heart. I died on the spot, and in my last breath, I heard her being handcuffed by the police, screaming frantically, "Do you even know what love is? I'm willing to torment each other to death with him. Why are you meddling in our business? In my past life, I saved her only to be killed by her. Now that I've been reborn, I will make sure she pays back everything she owes me." When Yang Jing returned, she was carrying a cup of unbranded milk tea, her face betraying a hidden sense of thrill. She quickly closed the door and pulled me to the balcony to peek outside. Look at that. Under the camphor tree stood a boy wearing headphones, staring intently at his phone. Broad shoulders, narrow waist, tall and slender, wearing a mask, with tousled hair half covering his eyes. His face was unclear, but his figure seemed somewhat familiar. Isn't he handsome? A man's greatest charm comes from a woman's imagination. I nodded against my will. Her phone suddenly received a message. "Baby, I've carefully prepared this milk tea for you. It's very nutritious, so make sure to drink it all." Yang Jing replied instantly. "Who are you really? How did you get my phone number? I won't eat anything from you. If you keep harassing me, I'll call the police." She shook the milk tea, winked at me slyly, and said triumphantly, "I'll pretend to be scared now," pretending not to know who he is. In our Yandera circle, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind, whose more Yandera is still up for debate. I'll make him step into my trap bit by bit, make him obsessed with me, make him constantly anxious about losing me. She slowly licked her lips, trying to create a sense of calm madness. I sneered inwardly. "Then I wish you success in winning him over soon, making him unable to live without you." The stalker sent back a picture. "You wouldn't want this version of yourself to spread all over the campus, would you? Just do as I say." Yang Jing's phone was already lying openly in front of me, so I saw it right away. It was a nude bathing photo, with Yang Jing as the main subject. I observed Yang Jing's expression. She froze for a moment, then blushed, coquettishly saying, "He's so annoying, he saw everything." She quickly replied to the message on the other end. "I'll drink it right now. Please, don't send it, or I'll go crazy." "Please, I'll do anything you want." But the way she eagerly unwrapped the milk tea packaging didn't look like she was about to go crazy at all. The milk tea packaging was torn open. Upon closer inspection, there were some unidentified white fibrous substances floating up and down. I thought of something unpleasant and felt a bit nauseated. Yang Jing seemed to have thought of it too and inserted a straw. Her eyes flickered as she shyly asked me, "Do you think this could be?" I was so disgusted that I Got goosebumps and quickly interrupted her. I'm heading to the cafeteria. Take your time drinking it. Don't waste his kind gesture. I had just stepped out of the dorm when my phone started buzzing nonstop. Yang Jing had somehow added me to the Sisters Who Only Love Yandere group chat. Yang Jing posted that picture of the milk tea. Yang, already a little Yandere edition. He ordered this for me, with something extra added. Guess what it is? Shy Nyo, currently imprisoned version. I'm guessing it's he, goo, waiting for little Yandere version, so tempting drooling, sister Yang, remember to share how it tastes, Susu, already cut wrists for little Yandere version, he's so possessive, you've struck gold, Yang, already has little Yandere version, empty milk teacup, Yang, already has a hint of Yandere, it tastes a bit weird, but I drank it all, shy licking lips, I had already run away, but I didn't expect to still be. Genuinely disgusted by her, I quickly moved the group chat to the group assistant. I couldn't wait to wash my eyes and disinfect my phone screen right away. I quickly walked towards the cafeteria, as if the faster I walked, the more I could shake off that discomfort, but suddenly, I stopped in my tracks. No, that discomfort didn't come from the group chat, but from a gaze like a damp, slimy snake. It stared at me with its tongue flicking out. I instinctively followed that gaze. In the next second, my scalp tingled, and my hair stood on end, because the one staring at me was that perverted stalker under the tree. I was startled and quickly averted my gaze. For 2 days straight, I never left the dorm except to attend classes. That gaze seemed like an illusion, as it never appeared again after that day. The school's public bathroom was under repair for 2 days, and 3 pinhole cameras were discovered. I breathed a sigh of relief, but Yang Jing was very agitated. She was grumbling in the dorm, biting her thumb until it bled. Why did the school suddenly decide to repair the bathroom? They even removed the cameras. How am I supposed to use this chance to let Xiaoyuchen catch me in the act? He hasn't contacted me for 2 days. Is he already tired of me? Yang Jing might not even realize it herself, but she has become gloomy and irritable, often acting in extreme ways. In my past life, I discovered that person wasn't just stalking her or violating her in the name of love. More than that, it was psychological manipulation, aimed at destroying her from the very core. I couldn't help but warn Yang Jing. But by then she had already cut ties with me and grown close to her so-called Yandere sisters. Whatever I say, she sees it as jealousy, but if that person really is Xiaoyuchen, he does have the capital to make people jealous, a genius who switched from finance to medicine, skipped grades to directly pursue a master's and doctorate, the campus's cold and aloof male god, with terrifyingly high grades and an equally terrifyingly good family background. But I wonder, why would someone so wealthy lock Yang Jing in a dilapidated, old basement in her previous life? With his family's power, imprisoning someone is as easy as turning over a hand, especially since Yang Jing is willing to some extent. Yang Jing suddenly looked at me. Sure Qian, you're the smartest. What should I do? Move off campus and rent an apartment? That way, he'll have the opportunity, and he might even break in and hide in your home. Yang Jing was taken aback, then overjoyed. Yes, that's exactly like you, she murmured, biting her hand. When the time comes, I'll set up surveillance in advance to catch him sneaking into my room, smelling the clothes I've worn, sleeping in my bed, noticing that I skip breakfast and leaving me a hot meal, seeing my dirty laundry and washing it for me. He looks at me as if he could devour me whole, yet restrains himself out of reluctance, his intensity terrifying, yet his love for me treads on thin ice. If he plans to abduct and imprison me one day, I'll pretend to comply. Yang Jing suddenly grabbed my hand. Sure Qian, when the time comes, you must save me. When he's driven to madness searching for me day after day, I'll imprison him in my own house. I am the hunter, and he is the prey. Yang Jing's expression twisted, flickering with an unusual light. I withdrew my hand, nodded casually, and pointed to the rental information on my phone to show her. How about this one? It's sparsely populated and remote, perfect for him to get close to you. The one I was pointing to happened to be the very neighborhood that had saved her in her previous life. In my past life, I tried to persuade her with good intentions and save her, but the outcome was her merciless stab. In this life, I willingly let her step into the trap, yet she wants me to save her. Save her? You might as well rot right there. Yang Jing stared at the peeling walls in the housing information photo, feeling somewhat hesitant. It's a bit shabby. I don't think I can. I interrupt her. You're just staying temporarily. He'll come to pick you up soon. With all his money, he must have prepared a beautiful golden cage for you in a villa. Yang Jing was convinced by my words and moved out of the dormitory the next day. I thought I would have some peace of mind for a while, but I never expected that the very next day after she left, that shadow-like gaze reappeared. At first, that gaze only faintly appeared on my way to class. I couldn't avoid it, so I pedaled my bicycle as fast as I could every time I Went to class later. The other parties started to become even more relentless, whether heading to the cafeteria or the playground. That gaze clung to me relentlessly. He hid himself well. Each time I was pushed to the brink of emotional collapse and tried to catch him, I found nothing. He started sending me text messages. You woke up late today. Don't be late. You should eat more vegetables and not be picky about food. You haven't come out to eat all day, so I ordered takeout for you. All your favorites. There's quite a bit, so if you can't finish it, just throw it away. Don't overeat. Why did you stop running? Remember to close the windows. It's going to rain heavily tomorrow. Didn't I tell you to close the window? I closed it for you. Good thing we're on the first floor. Don't change your phone number again. No matter how much you try, I'll always find you. I realized that even though I had been reborn, I couldn't control everything like the protagonist of a wish fulfillment novel. I was in the light, while he was in the shadows, a skilled stalker who knew everything about me, and I know nothing about him. This suffocating feeling, no matter what you do, is inescapable and drives one mad. Whenever he torments me to the point where I can't breathe, I can't help but admire the thought process of Yang Jing and her kind. They can even kiss such a pervert without hesitation. I told my counselor about being followed, but I didn't mention Xiao Yuchen's name. I had briefly interacted with Xiao Yuchen during my freshman year. I gave a speech as an outstanding new student right after him, and he casually handed me the microphone, but only I, who took the microphone, knew. He held the handle of the microphone with 3 fingers, his brows slightly furrowed as he handed it over, as if resisting contact with others. After handing it off, his expression relaxed, and he wiped his hand in a place no one could see. From then on, in my mind, he went from being a top-performing senior to a cold, nitpicky person with a cleanliness obsession. I couldn't imagine him lurking in the shadows, following someone. The more I thought about it, the more I felt that the person Yang Jing pointed out to me only resembled him slightly in build. After hearing my description, the counselor didn't take it seriously. The campus has security personnel patrolling 24 hours a day. You're probably under too much stress. In previous years, some students have experienced similar situations. Don't overthink it. Focus on preparing your journal paper and aim for graduate school admission. Since the counselor wasn't helpful, I had no choice but to hide in my dorm room. But even in the dorm, that gaze seemed to follow me like a shadow. I lost 2 pieces of clothing in a row. This piece of clothing has poor fabric quality. Don't wear it. This piece of clothing is too sheer. Many people were secretly looking at you today. Didn't you notice? I replied to him for the first time. Get lost, you idiot. Besides you stalking me, who else would be so perverted? Don't use foul language. I've had a few outfits custom made for you and left them with the dorm supervisor. Remember to pick them up. My anger meant nothing to him. He even felt the need to lecture me in return. This sense of losing control terrified me, and his various material compensations made me fear that I would become just like Yang Jing, gradually compromising and unconsciously falling into the trap. I began frantically searching through the Only Love Yandere Sisters group, trying to find evidence that he was still stalking Yang Jing, but Yang Jing's chat records in the group had long stopped on the 4th day after she moved out of the dormitory. I stared intently at the last sentence she had sent. He's been here, but I'm not prepared at all. Where can I buy a pinhole camera? Excited, the devoted fans of the Yandere sister below all offered their advice, but Yang Jing didn't reply again, and even left the group chat. Gradually, people began to speculate whether she had been imprisoned. After the speculation was raised, their first reaction was excitement and envy, wishing someone would imprison them immediately, yet not a single person thought she might be in physical danger, that she could die. I steadied my trembling hands and sent a message to Yang Jing. There's a class with Teacher Zhang tomorrow, and he'll take attendance. Remember to come. It took a long time for the other side to reply, not going. Let him remember. I abruptly turned off my phone, breathing heavily, my heart pounding wildly. That was Yang Jing's tone, but there's no teacher surnamed Zhang in our department at all. That means the person who replied to my message was that stalker, and she's most likely already been locked in the basement. Even after so many days, she might already be reduced to catching mice to eat. Just like in my previous life, my nerves were on edge for a moment, but then I suddenly felt a sense of relief. This time her death occurred much earlier than in my previous life. By who knows how many days, perhaps before long, she will rot in that basement, accompanied by maggots, rats, and insects. For someone like Yang Jing, even my revenge feels effortless. I am immersed in joy. Suddenly, the phone vibrated, and a text message came in. After reading the content clearly, my mind went blank, and I immediately threw the phone away. It was sent by the person who was following me. A picture. Yang Jing was chained by a dog leash, lying unconscious on the ground, completely Unaware, her hair was a mess, her body covered in scars, and she was as thin as a skeleton, looking even more pitiful than the skin and bones figure from her previous life. Are you looking for her? She caused your death. Do you still want to save her? I don't know how long it took, but I finally snapped out of the immense fear. He even knows that I died and was reborn, which means he has been secretly watching me since my previous life. Like an impenetrable net, it has pursued me into this life, determined to tightly ensnare me within it. He was very cautious and withdrew those messages, then sent new ones. Did I scare you? Don't be afraid. I won't harm you. My jaw tightened, and my teeth couldn't stop chattering. I typed and deleted the sentence many times before finally getting it right. Who are you, really? Are you the one following Yang Jing? You mistook me for that pervert, aren't you? I'm not him. Don't confuse me with that creepy, cowardly fat guy. So it was someone else who was following me. From his description, the one following Yang Jing definitely wasn't Xiao Yuchen. I tried my best to stay calm, engaging with the other party to extract more information. I'm talking about a pervert, aren't you one? You stalk me, spy on me, know all my information, keep sending me harassing messages, steal my clothes, constantly remind me that I'm under your surveillance. Aren't you a pervert? I'm sorry, I only wanted to protect you, but I love you too much and couldn't control myself. Then let me tell you, I'm safe, you don't need to protect me, and I don't like you. Please stop bothering me and go live your own life. He could easily take photos of Yang Jing, which means he either knows the person following her or uses even more extreme methods than the stalker, having died once. I can't let my guard down just because of his one-sided words. Besides, I'm not Yang Jing. I won't feel grateful or develop any affection for someone who monitors me constantly. This makes me feel sick just thinking about it. It took a long time for the other side to reply, as if they hadn't seen my previous warning. It's time to eat. I ordered takeout for you, and the dorm supervisor will bring it to you in a while. I gripped my phone tightly. The screen had long been shattered by me, and at this moment, I wished the person on the other side could be shattered into pieces too. I knew it all along. No matter how noble the words sound, the core is always about following one's own desires to feel satisfied. What ultimate favoritism, what possessive desire that traps oneself for love. People like them only enjoy the thrill of the chase, the pleasure of having me trapped and unable to escape, giving them a sense of complete control. A raging fire burned in my heart as my fingers flew across the keyboard. I need to see you. I couldn't just sit back and wait any longer. At worst, it would be a fight to the death. What's the worst that could happen? Just dying. One more time. Why? His answer was unexpected. Tomorrow at 4 p.m., Times Lane Cafe, Seat A7. I'll give you a chance to stand in front of me openly. Stop lurking around like a rat in the gutter all day. He didn't reply until late at night. Okay, the next afternoon, I was called by my advisor to help fill out some paperwork. After finishing up and glancing at the time, it was already 3:57. The stalker had sent a text message at 3:30. I'm here. I ordered you a flat white. Now another message popped up. The coffee's cold. You're late. I took a taxi and rushed over. Arriving at the entrance of the alley at 4:15, the stalker sent another message. Sorry, I really wanted to see you, but you stood me up. See you next time. The car couldn't drive into the alley, so I had to get out and run as fast as I could, running while typing. Don't go. I'm here. Just as I was about to exit the alley, I unexpectedly collided with someone who suddenly appeared. A strong smell of disinfectant hit me, causing my hand to slip, and the message was sent. At the same time, the phone of the person I had bumped into chimed with a notification. In that instant, my heart felt like it had leaped into my throat. I quickly stepped back and looked up, and when I saw the person's face clearly, my breath caught in my throat. I exclaimed in disbelief, "It's you." I watched him warily. One hand slipped into my pocket, gripping the retractable pen tightly. Xiao Yuchen frowned slightly, giving me a puzzled glance, a flicker of irritation flashing in his eyes. Then he took out a wet wipe and vigorously wiped his fingers. Do you know me? I was stunned for a moment, and many thoughts flashed through my mind. Finally, my gaze fell on his somewhat impatient expression. No, he couldn't be a stalker. Just as he turned to throw away the wet wipe, the cafe behind him came into view. I had chosen seat A7 by the window, and when I looked over, someone was just getting up from that spot and walking out. The way they were dressed was exactly like the person under the tree that day. As if sensing something, that person looked up and stared directly over. The sticky gaze instantly wrapped around me, sending a chill down my spine. I had overestimated my own courage. Fear surged in my heart, my feet as if nailed to the ground. I wanted to chase after them, but I couldn't move. What's wrong with you? After throwing the things, Xiao Yuchen turned around, puzzled, and followed my line of sight. I suddenly grabbed his arm tightly. Xiao Yuchen, help me. I'm being Followed, Xiao Yuchen is studying psychiatry, asking him for help. He will definitely be able to analyze the other person's intentions and catch that person. Xiao Yuchen was taken aback by my grip, instinctively wanting to shake off my hand, but I couldn't care about politeness. I held onto him tightly as if clutching a lifeline. I pointed at the stalker standing at the entrance of the cafe, staring intently at me. My throat tightened. It's him. He's been following me. Please, help me, the moment. Xiao Yuchen locked eyes with the stalker. The man's sinister gaze instantly shifted, and he turned and fled. Damn it, Xiao Yuchen cursed under his breath, broke free from my grip, and immediately gave chase. The alleyways were a maze of paths, but Xiao Yuchen didn't hesitate, following the man into a narrow side street. I waited for over 20 minutes, when Xiao Yuchen emerged from another alley with a cold expression. I received a message from that person. Who is he? You're not being good. Xiao Yuchen was sweating profusely from running. Sorry, that person is very familiar with this area. I lost him. I felt guilty only after the fact. It's okay, thank you for helping me. Let me buy you a drink. Xiao Yuchen didn't respond, just pointed at my phone. Was this done by that person? Why didn't you report something like this to the counselor? I touched the cracked screen inside. I told her. But the counselor didn't believe me. To her, someone like me who's about to graduate probably isn't worth the trouble. Xiao Yuchen furrowed his brow slightly, his gaze falling on my lit-up phone screen. On it were the chat records with the stalker. Sorry, may I take a look? My research might be able to help you. I nodded and handed him the phone. He rubbed his fingers, then overcame his germophobia and took it. He scrolled through the chat history between me and the stalker, while I observed him at that moment. He didn't seem as unapproachable. He was also willing to help. All right then, Xiao Yuchen suddenly looked up, and when he met my blatant scrutiny, he paused almost imperceptibly. I hurriedly lowered my gaze and took the phone, awkwardly rubbing the tip of my nose. Did you notice anything? Can you deduce his hiding place from this? Xiao Yuchen chuckled softly. It's not that easy. Add me on WeChat, and if he sends you any more messages or makes any moves, let me know right away. He pulled up the QR code for me to scan. Sorry, I need to go back to school, so I can't stay for a drink. If anything comes up, feel free to call me. I quickly nodded. I've already caused enough trouble today. If you have things to do, please go ahead. From that day on, I started frequently contacting Xiao Yuchen regarding the message from that day. He told me to reply, he is my boyfriend. If you keep following me, you'll face the consequences. But it didn't have much effect. The other person continued to harass me, lying. Why isn't your boyfriend accompanying you for a meal? I ordered takeout for you. Remember to pick it up. Since then, Xiao Yuchen had no choice but to pretend to be my boyfriend. He would accompany me to classes when he had time, take me to restaurants for meals, and run with me on the playground. I walked in the sunlight after a long time. I even thought that if it could make the stalker back off, it wouldn't be bad to really date Xiao Yuchen. Apart from being a bit of a neat freak and speaking little, he couldn't be more qualified to play the role of a boyfriend. But I was just thinking, I couldn't push my luck. Before I could fully enjoy these long-awaited carefree days, the stalker started sending me messages frequently again. Do you think I wouldn't notice if you hired a fake boyfriend? Sure, Qian, don't force yourself just to make me angry. He's not competent. He doesn't even know you hate broccoli. He sent the message while Xiao Yuchen and I were on a date at a restaurant outside. On the plate was a piece of broccoli that Xiao Yuchen had struggled to overcome his cleanliness obsession to pick up for me. That feeling of being exposed under someone's gaze washed over me like a tide. It feels like no matter what I do, I can never escape his control. I have no privacy at all. For a moment, I even felt like everyone was secretly watching me. The bustling restaurant, the constant flow of customers, and the waiters who kept asking about my dining experience, their gazes all seemed to sweep over me, almost imperceptibly. I desperately covered my ears, tightly shut my eyes, refusing to listen or look, as if that would keep me safe, until someone suddenly grabbed my arm and pulled me up. Only then did I realize that, in my daze, I had unconsciously tried to crawl under the table. Jianshi Qian, look at me. Xiao Yuchen half knelt, cupping my head, forcing me to look directly at him. Upon seeing the anxious concern in his eyes, my tears suddenly fell. I suddenly understood what the teacher had explained in class about Stockholm Syndrome. Xiao Yuchen was stunned for a moment, hesitantly embracing me. His voice was clear and gentle, filled with utmost tenderness. Don't be afraid. It's okay now. Tell me, did he come looking for you again? Suppressing the sob in my throat, I buried my head deeply into the crook of his neck. Give me your phone. Xiao Yuchen had one arm around me, completely indifferent to the stares of those around us. He tried to call back for me, but the other party had used some method To make it a disconnected number, in a daze, I let him lead me out of the restaurant. We went to the police station to file a report. Unfortunately, the police were unable to track down the other party. They couldn't even file a case because no substantial harm had been caused. I sat in the dormitory all night. At the break of dawn, I finally fixed my gaze on Yang Jing's bed. At 4 in the morning, I sent a message to the stalker. "Is Yang Jing still alive?" At this hour, he replied instantly, "Do you still want to save her?" "I don't know. Let's meet in that basement. You say you love me. Don't you want to see with your own eyes what happens to the person who killed me? Is this a trap? Are you going to bring your fake boyfriend to catch me? What will you do if you catch me? At 10 in the morning, I won't be late again. Whatever you want from me, let's settle it." "Fine, come by yourself." I didn't reply to him. 9:55, I stopped Xiao Chen, who had just finished class. Outside the teaching building, my head spinning amidst a chorus of teasing, I looked at him pleadingly. "Sorry, help me one last time. I won't bother you again after this." Xiao Chen was slightly taken aback, studying me as I swayed unsteadily. He turned and threw the book to the roommate who was egging him on. We took a taxi together, heading straight for that remote residential area. Throughout the more than half-hour journey, Xiao Chen let me hold his hand tightly. Our clasped palms grew sweaty, yet Xiao Chen, as if cured of his germophobia by me, didn't even frown. When I got out of the car, my phone predictably chimed with a message notification. "Qian, you're late again. You're always trampling on my sincerity. What should I do with you?" Standing downstairs of the building where Yang Jing rented, I showed the message to Xiao Chen and forced a smile. "I'm late again." I collapsed, crouching in front of him and crying uncontrollably. "Xiao Chen, what should I do? I want to see him, but I'm also afraid to see him. I don't dare to face this pervert. I'm scared that if I really see him, I'll be powerless against him. I would truly go insane." I dragged my feet all morning. I had countless chances to come here earlier, but in the end, I was like a coward, only daring to ask you to accompany me. Tell me, am I destined to never escape him in this lifetime? After a long while, Xiao Chen seemed to sigh, then crouched down and embraced me. Just as he had done in the restaurant, he patted my back and whispered softly, "Don't be afraid. I'll stay with you. Qian, if you wish, I can stay with you for a lifetime." He wiped away my tears, his gaze gentle and indulgent. "Do you want that?" His voice was low and husky, lingering and captivating. No girl would have any reason to say no to him, but I thought indifferently. "Xiao Chen, what exactly are you trying so hard to get?" I lowered my gaze, as if making a decision. "Xiao Chen, I've died once." Xiao Chen's breath hitched. I pulled him to his feet and led him up the stairs. First layer. I told him I was reborn. Second layer. I told him that before my rebirth, my best friend was being stalked. Third layer. I told him that my best friend liked Yanderas, but the stalker wasn't her ideal Yandera. He tormented her terribly. Fourth layer. I told him that even though my best friend hated me, I still called the police for her. On the 5th floor. I told him that I saved my best friend, but she stabbed me to death. At this point, Xiao Chen suddenly tightened his grip on my hand. I smiled at him and led him further upstairs. Standing in front of Yang Jing's rented apartment, I turned back and said to Xiao Chen, "Even though she killed me, she's still a human life, and I still want to save her. After I save her, I'll give you the answer." For the first time, a look of stunned confusion appeared on Xiao Chen's face. Police sirens sounded from downstairs, and well-trained officers came upstairs. I pulled Xiao Chen aside. The police quickly pried the door open and swiftly swept through the house. A musty, damp smell wafted out from inside the door. An officer came out shaking his head, leaving some to inspect the house and taking the rest to search the basement. I wanted to pull Xiao Chen along to follow, but I tugged at him and he didn't budge. "What's wrong?" A flicker of panic flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. "It's too dangerous. Let's just wait here." I let go of his hand and ran down on my own. Xiao Chen hesitated for only a moment before following along. The iron door of the basement had been sawed open. A thick, moldy, decaying odor, mixed with various sour smells, the scent of blood, and the stench of urine, rushed into their nostrils. The police pushed the door open without hesitation. The scene that met their eyes made everyone gasp. Yang Jing wasn't dead, but she was suffering more than death. She lay on the ground, her neck and limbs chained with iron shackles. The floor was covered in a mixture of thick, foul-smelling substances, with swarms of flies buzzing around. The lights turned on. Many rats scurried away from various parts of her body. She looked up with hope in her eyes, just like in my previous life when I saved her, with half a dead rat in her mouth. The difference was that her mouth had already festered, and upon closer inspection, worms could be seen slowly crawling inside. All the police officers were shocked by this scene. After quickly regaining their composure, they immediately began Rescue measures. The sound of sawing through iron chains echoed throughout the hallway. A female police officer softly comforted her. Don't be afraid, we'll get you out right away. Yang Jing suddenly became frantic, her throat emitting a hoarse, unpleasant sound. No. She struggled frantically, and the police, ignoring the mess all around, held her down firmly. Yang Jing saw me outside the crowd and glared at me fiercely. Get out. I watched all of this coldly until the police cut through the chains restraining her. Yang Jing suddenly erupted with tremendous force, breaking free from everyone and charging toward me. She held a small knife in her hand, aiming straight for my heart. I tightened my grip on the fountain pen in my pocket. Her wrist was so thin it was nothing but skin, and I had practiced seizing this moment to counterattack countless times since my rebirth. I stood quietly, and as the knife tip drew near, I suddenly felt she was pitiful. I was just about to step aside. The next moment, a force pulled me away. Yang Jing's knife plunged directly into Xiao Yuchen's abdomen. Everyone was caught off guard by the sudden turn of events. Yang Jing was stunned, losing her strength and collapsing to her knees, tears streaming down her face. She stared unblinkingly at Xiao Yuchen as he was surrounded by doctors rushing to provide emergency care. Suddenly, she smiled with a sense of happiness. I love Xiao. Together, die. I followed Xiao Yuchen onto the ambulance. Just before getting on, I seemed to sense something and glanced toward the bushes not far away. There, the shrubs swayed, as if a gust of wind had passed through, stirring up a wave of panic. Xiao Yuchen was taken to the emergency room and transferred to a regular ward. 3 hours later, I watched him for as long as he slept. An hour later, Xiao Yuchen's anesthesia wore off, and he slowly woke up. As soon as he opened his eyes, he anxiously looked around. When he saw me, he breathed a sigh of relief and struggled to sit up, reaching out to pull me closer. Qian, are you okay? Did she hurt you again? I shook his hand in return. His palm was damp and cool. Thank you. I saved Yang Jing, and you saved me. I observed his expression without showing any emotion and spoke slowly. There's also good news. The police compared the DNA from the scene and identified the pervert who imprisoned Yang Jing. What a coincidence. He shares your surname. His name is Xiaolei. As Xiao Yuchen gradually calmed down, I let go of his hand, crossed my arms, and leaned back in the chair. Even more coincidentally, he turns out to be your twin brother, Xiao Yuchen. Did you know your brother is a pervert? Or perhaps, are you just like your brother? I never thought Xiao Yuchen would do something like hiding in the shadows to spy on people, but that doesn't mean I don't suspect him. After all, the figure under the tree looked so much like Xiao Yuchen, as if they were carved from the same mold. When that person set their sights on me, I knew I was the next target. What's strange is that the person who sent me the message had a completely different tone from the one who sent it to Yang Jing. Could Xiao Yuchen have a split personality? A person with a split personality studying psychiatry? That sounds too ridiculous. It wasn't until he mentioned things from my past life that I realized the situation had seriously deviated from my control. I want to see him, but I will never go to the meeting unprepared. I went to help the instructor organize the materials. It happened to be the holiday, and the instructor was short-handed. I deliberately left some materials behind and recommended Xiao Yuchen to help the instructor, then rushed to the cafe just in time. Sure enough, I bumped into Xiao Yuchen, who was hurriedly heading out. At the entrance of the alley, what made me even more suspicious of him was the smell of disinfectant on him. The clothes he gave me, even if deliberately concealed, still carried a faint scent of disinfectant. He was used to this smell and might not notice it, but for someone who doesn't come into contact with it often, it was almost immediately detectable. In an instant, I pinpointed him. Even if I couldn't be 100% certain, he was definitely involved. But when he turned around to reveal the person from the cafe, my deduction was shattered once again. The man's sinister aura and his direct, lingering gaze almost immediately confirmed for me that he was the one following me. But what was Xiao Yuchen doing here? In a moment of panic, I grabbed Xiao Yuchen, pretending to be utterly terrified, and begged him for help. When Xiao Yuchen turned around and saw that person, a flash of regret crossed his eyes, and that person wasn't running away out of fear. It seemed more like guilt after being caught in the act. Xiao Yuchen had eagerly chased after them based on a stranger's words, and despite being the school's sprint champion who broke records at the sports meet, he failed to catch up. I realized he was covering for that person. Even the fat guy in the harassing messages was a misdirection. Yang Jing's guess was correct. The person under the tree, who closely resembled Xiao Yuchen, was likely the one following her. But if it wasn't Xiao Yuchen, then who is it? I couldn't find the answer. Lost in the image of a frightened victim, I asked Xiao Yuchen to help me, and briefly experienced a normal campus life. I knew this sense of security was an illusion. Xiao Yuchen was likely the one who sent me the text. messages, and the person who resembled Xiao Yuchen was probably the one following me. I knew all of this, but I just lacked evidence. I was fully aware that they were conspiring to set me up, but when I suddenly received a new message at the restaurant, I looked at Xiao Yuchen's phone on the table and, for a moment, thought I had guessed wrong. Under the double torment, I almost lost myself when Xiao Yuchen held me. I even entertained the thought of giving in. However, text messages can be scheduled to be sent at a specific time. The broccoli was ordered by Xiao Yuchen, and he was the one who served it to me. He has the ability to control everything. The night I left the police station, I was overwhelmed with fear. Even someone as clear-headed as me almost fell into the trap, let alone those who were lured into it. I need to break this deadlock, so I spent a whole night thinking about what I might have missed. I kept recalling Xiao Yuchen and the person who looked so much like him. Under extreme nervous tension and fatigue, a thought suddenly popped into my mind. Back when school had just started, there was a discussion among the freshmen about Xiao Yuchen. An anonymous user said that Xiao Yuchen seemed to have a twin brother, but that sentence only popped up for a few seconds before disappearing, as if no one had noticed it except for me, who had been staring at the forum the whole time. A bold guess formed in my mind. I used the same trick again. Sure enough, under that building, my out-of-control breakdown slowly revealed the hidden dagger in Xiao Yuchen's heart. I didn't have time to review the situation with Xiao Yuchen before he was taken into custody by the police as a suspect. Never questioned the investigative capabilities of the police. I was merely drawn to the rustling of the bushes, but the police had already launched a search around the area. I only told the police that Xiao Yuchen and the stalker might be related by blood, and they were able to piece together the general outline of the case. Everything seemed to go surprisingly smoothly afterward. The police didn't even have to put in much effort. Xiao Yuchen confessed everything. Xiao Lei, Xiao Yuchen's twin brother, suffers from borderline personality disorder. By the time Xiao Yuchen found out, he had already psychologically manipulated 3 girls. Xiao Yuchen tried taking him to see a psychologist and sending him to a psychiatric hospital, but after he improved, he started targeting girls again within less than a year. The Xiao family felt sorry for Xiao Lei and asked Xiao Yuchen to save him. Xiao Yuchen had no choice but to switch from finance to psychiatry, but as Xiao Lei grew increasingly reckless, Xiao Yuchen had to clean up after him for the sake of the Xiao family's reputation, until Xiao Lei turned his attention toward me. When the police asked why he had been harassing me with text messages, Xiao Yuchen said it was because he loved me, so he couldn't let Xiao Lei hurt me. From Xiao Lei's twisted perspective, he made sure Xiao Lei knew I belonged to Xiao Yuchen. Finally, Xiao Yuchen's testimony combined with the police investigation. Since Xiao Lei had persecuted several women, some of whom even committed suicide by jumping off buildings but were silenced by the Xiao family with money, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. As for Xiao Yuchen, due to the crime of harboring, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The case was resolved smoothly, but it seemed almost too smooth. I went to visit Yang Jing at the psychiatric hospital. The doctor said she has self-destructive tendencies and doesn't want to save herself, so it will be difficult for her to live like a normal person for the rest of her life. I looked at her in the room. She handcuffed herself to the bed, occasionally banging her head against the surroundings. Unfortunately, everything around was made of foam, so she couldn't kill herself. What a pity. I went to visit Xiao Yuchen at the hospital again. He was quietly leaning against the hospital bed, reading a copy of Anti-Fragile Asterisk. At this moment, he seemed to have regained the image of the aloof campus heartthrob he once was. He didn't seem surprised to see me approach. I waited for you for 2 weeks, and you finally came. I nodded, taking in the sight of his high-end hospital room. Young Master Xiao, even if he's about to go to prison, has many ways to keep himself living decently. Xiao Yuchen put down his book, his gaze following my movements. Finally, I fixed my eyes on his finance-related book. Xiao Yuchen, you saw this day coming long ago. Xiao Yuchen spread his hands. Did you foresee the day when saving you would land me in jail? Stop pretending, I said expressionlessly, looking at him. You deliberately sought me out. He raised an eyebrow. Why would you think that? You've tarnished my love for you. I frowned in disgust. You don't want to continue anymore. You want to save yourself. So choosing an outstanding student majoring in criminal psychology as your target to end all this for you is just perfect, isn't it? Even better, she's also a reborn person. You've had your eye on me since my past life, but unfortunately, before you could carry out your plan, I was killed by Yang Jing. It suddenly occurred to me that the reason I made up my mind to help Yang Jing call the police was because I received a stalking text message. Looking back now, that message was sent by you. Xiao Yuchen lowered his gaze, and after a long while, he looked at me, a smile flickering in the depths of His eyes, Shurchen, how is it that nothing can be hidden from you? He stared blankly at his own hands, murmuring, I've been tired for a long time. I often wonder, why do I always have to clean up his mess? He's sick, he makes mistakes, so why does he have to take away the things I love? I hate him to death, but because of this ridiculous blood tie, I have no choice but to take care of him. He looked at me, his eyes smiling as he said softly, thank goodness for you, you're smart, strong, willed, and your expertise is a perfect fit. You won't be swayed by anyone, so you're the best person to uncover the truth. I suddenly hurled my bag at him. The bodyguards stationed at the door grew restless, but Xiaoyu-chen, clutching his stomach with pale lips, waved them off. I thought back to how I had nearly broken down emotionally at the restaurant. I was trembling all over, unable to control my sobs. And somewhat out of control, I said, bastard, have you ever thought about what would happen if I were ruined by you too? You and your brother are the same. You don't take other people's lives seriously at all. Xiaoyu-chen coughed twice, the corners of his lips curling slightly. He stared straight at me, his eyes filled with endless tenderness. That won't happen. Have you forgotten the question I asked you? As long as you want, I can stay with you forever. I sneered coldly, stepping closer to him. If I had said I wanted to back then, what would you have done? His gaze drifted into the distance. Without waiting for his answer, I declared resolutely, you wouldn't be like your brother, who practically enjoys torturing people to death, but you would subtly restrict my freedom, crush my will, make me completely submit to you mentally, strip me of myself and my thoughts, turning me into a doll you can manipulate from the very core. I admit, you are exactly the kind of so-called Yandere that Yang Jing idealizes, but you are definitely not someone a normal person like me would accept. I picked up my bag, speaking each word slowly and through gritted teeth. Admit it, Xiaoyu-chen, you're just as disgusting as your brother. After that day, I never paid attention to them again until I successfully secured a spot for graduate school. My advisor asked me to help organize the admission letters for the new students. She sighed. Yang Jing was originally a promising candidate for graduate school, but I don't know how she ended up like this. A few days ago, her parents came to handle her withdrawal from school. I heard she jumped off a building and couldn't be saved. She sighed again. Xiaoyu-chen from the neighboring college is the same. He was dragged down by his younger brother. He was quite a figure in the finance school back then, but later transferred to the medical school. Not only did he become silent, but he also ended up in prison because of his brother. You're the one who's worry-free, by the way. How's that paper on Stockholm Syndrome coming along? Can you still submit it before graduation? Later, as I walked around the new campus, I overheard alumni discussing how that legendary figure from our alma mater, after being released from prison, turned down his former advisor's invitation to pursue a PhD, and instead decided to take the MBA exam. That alumnus said, he's already been to prison. No hospital would dare take him even if he studied medicine. For a rich kid like him, getting an MBA and taking over the family business would be much better. Later on, I heard that Xiaoyu-chen got into our school, but by then, I had already successfully joined the police department. When we met again, he came to the station as Xiaolei's immediate family member to claim the body. The person escaped while receiving medical treatment outside the prison, followed a cross-dressing man, was discovered and fled in panic, then was hit and killed on the spot by a drunk truck driver. Xiaoyu-chen was dressed in a suit, his every move exuding composure and maturity. He only glanced briefly before signing off to have his subordinates take the body away. At that time, I had just finished assisting the police in interrogating a prisoner and was standing wearily in front of the police station, gazing at the stars. He walked over and stood beside me, quietly finishing a cigarette. The last trace of crimson fell to the ground. I ignored him. He didn't say anything either. After that, each pursued their own path in the world. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My charming roommate is bound to a health system. She stays up binge-watching dramas, while I'm the one exhausted like a dog. She parties all night with her boyfriend, going clubbing and surfing the internet, while I collapsed and vomited in the library, my head splitting with pain. After recovering, I became famous at school, with the campus forum filled with sarcastic and mocking comments. The impoverished student from next door ran to the floor below my dorm, saying that I put on an act every day as a good student to compete for scholarships, which is just disgusting. My boyfriend broke up with me and immediately confessed to my roommate. Look how innocent Fiona is. She even blushes when I hold her hand. A fake and manipulative woman like you only makes people sick. I told the doctor about my suspicions and was sent to the psychiatric ward as a mental patient. In the end, my roommate played a drinking game with friends, mixing white liquor with sulfasalazine, and I died. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my roommate tied her hair in twin tails to build her charming persona. Fiona looked in the mirror and asked us if she should get plastic surgery. She muttered about wanting to have her eyes widened and her nose augmented. The other roommates praised her. "Darling, you're already so beautiful." While enjoying the compliments, she pretended to be troubled, really, but I feel like my eyes aren't big enough. On the other hand, having eyes that are too big, like Wendy's, isn't attractive either. It's like the eyes of a cow in the countryside. I just felt a cold sweat break out on my back. According to the events of my past life, she would soon get plastic surgery and go to a hot spring with bandages still on during her recovery period. My skin would start to fester and not heal for a full 3 months. Then, she would go to bars and stay up all night before exams, building her image as a genius student, while I would suffer from splitting headaches, vomit uncontrollably, miss my major exams, and have to retake the entire course. In my past life, I could never figure out why it was me who suffered when Fiona was the one causing trouble. I mustered up the courage to share my suspicions with my boyfriend, but he impatiently brushed me off. "Are you out of your mind? You're just jealous of Fiona's high energy, good grades, and good looks. Aren't you? Someone as pure as Fiona would never go out drinking in the middle of the night. I think you're just being malicious." I also thought it was impossible, but she became more and more demanding, while my body grew weaker and weaker, until I was eventually bedridden. One day, I collapsed in the dorm and was rushed to the emergency room. A blood test revealed it was AIDS. I was completely stunned. Meanwhile, Fiona was having a great time in the dorm with 3 international students from Africa. After my death, the internet was abuzz with rumors, calling me promiscuous, saying I changed men every night, and then I bought bags and shoes by selling my body, calling me a little slut who falls for everyone and is outrageously flirtatious. Campus network, forums, online communities, and social media feeds were flooded with photoshopped nude photos and short videos of me. Netizens began attacking my parents. "How could your family raise such a shameless daughter, you lowlife from the countryside? You're just as filthy as expected, even if you're worth hundreds of millions now. What does it matter, giving birth to such trash? You're no good either." Fiona looked at me, drenched in cold sweat, and smiled. "Wendy, what's wrong with you? I only said your eyes are ugly. No need to glare at me like that, right?" I knew what was going to happen next. She would get plastic surgery, go to bars, do live streams, and stay up all night in the dorm with 3 black men. Then I contracted a disease and died, and my parents committed suicide. But since heaven has given me another chance, I must find out why she was promiscuous. Yet I was the one who got sick. I will never repeat the mistakes of my past life. I forced out a faint smile. "No, I was just thinking about getting a tattoo later. I'm really afraid of pain. As a child, I would cry for a long time even after getting a vaccine, and I never imagined I would get a tattoo. Still, I went. The moment I sat in the shop, my palms were sweaty. When the tattoo artist came over with the tools, I wanted to run, but I gritted my teeth and stayed put. Seeing me like this, the tattoo artist couldn't help but ask, "Miss, are you really sure you want this tattoo?" I gritted my teeth and nodded. "Tattoo it." The design wasn't large, just a small rose. After it was done, my arm felt feverish in waves, burning with pain. The tattoo artist warned me not to let it get wet. I agreed and, after returning to the dorm, I pretended to accidentally spill water on Fiona's right arm. She complained, "Wendy, what are you doing? My clothes are all wet." I apologized repeatedly while secretly observing her condition. She seemed completely fine, but the area where I had the tattoo was already starting to redden and blister. I refused to give up and deliberately went out to drink. I stayed up all night and came back vomiting terribly, but when I turned around, I found Fiona still getting up at 6 in the morning to study, looking like a healthy college girl, with not a trace of fatigue on her face. I vaguely realized that this transfer is one way. She does bad things, and I suffer the consequences, but when I do bad things, it has no effect on her. What if I start taking care of myself? Can it offset the negative impact she has on me? To test this, I began to seriously focus on health maintenance and skincare every day. I use the most expensive serums and take collagen supplements orally, but unexpectedly, the results are still the same. Fiona's skin gets better day by day, while everything I do seems to have no effect on me. During class, 2 boys in the class started whispering when they saw us come in, "Fiona has become so pretty lately. Her skin is amazing too. How come I never noticed before? Hey, look at Wendy. It's hilarious. Her complexion looks just like the cafeteria ladies." Fiona overheard their comments and shyly covered her face. "Oh, stop praising me. I'm really rough. I even wash my face with soap, not like Wendy." She has a whole bunch of expensive bottles and jars, but I don't see what good they do. However, Wendy's parents are investors in our school. As a rich second generation, she has plenty of ways to become beautiful in the future. Don't look down on her like that. My hand in my pocket clenched tightly into a fist. I finally understood. The system only transfers what's good in me to her and dumps what she doesn't want onto me. Fiona had already figured it out by now, so in the following days, she completely let herself go. She started dressing up in different ways, and every night, she would talk on the phone with different men. Baby, I'm coming over tonight. Ugh, you took so long last time. I don't want it today. I was listening, and it made me break out in a cold sweat. One day, she came back from outside, humming a song while drinking milk tea. I, however, was struck by waves of sharp pain, as if a fine, dense brush were stirring inside me. I went to the hospital, and the doctor told me it was a gynecological infection. I almost broke down. She went out to fool around with men, and I ended up with a gynecological disease. Even today, I haven't fully recovered, but it seems she's about to go out again. I watched her sitting next to me, smiling as she sent WeChat messages to a guy. Finally, the fear of death and my hatred for her made me unable to hold back any longer, and I roared out, Fiona, can you have some shame? Isn't it cheap to go out and fool around like this every day? The entire classroom fell silent in an instant. Fiona froze for a moment, then her eyes immediately reddened. I was just ordering takeout. Why are you yelling at me? My boyfriend Bob rushed over from the back row and shoved me. What did Fiona do to you? Why are you suddenly barking like a mad dog? I defended myself. What about her? He slapped me across the face. Look at yourself now, disheveled and filthy, with a foul smell. Have you caught some kind of nasty disease? I shook my head desperately. I told you, it's because she was messing around with men, that's why. Shut up, he roared. How can you be so vicious? Are you so jealous of her that you're spreading rumors about her in the classroom? The classroom was in an uproar. I thought Wendy was the kind of well-behaved girl, but her complexion has been really awful lately, like she's on drugs or something. She used to have excellent grades, but now she's failed several courses and keeps glaring at people all day. It's really creepy. Fiona was crying with pear blossoms and rain, yet I clearly saw a faint smile at the corner of her mouth. I knew she did it on purpose. She had known about this system all along. I had no other choice. I took leave, rushed home overnight by car, and tearfully begged my parents to ask the school if they could move those 3 international students to a separate campus. My parents were terrified by me. At first, they thought I had been bullied, but after listening to my fragmented explanation, they just thought I was mentally unstable. But seeing how scared I was, in the end, my dad still went to see the principal. The principal acted quickly, and the 3 international students moved to another campus that same day. I breathed a sigh of relief, thinking I would at least get a little breathing room, but I was too naive. Fiona suddenly announced that she wanted to become an internet celebrity and started live streaming and selling beauty products in the dorm every day. Babies, look at my skin. Isn't it like a peeled egg? This is my new favorite lately. The effect is explosive. As she spoke, she slathered a no-name face mask onto her face. It made my scalp tingle just watching. Sure enough, the next day, my face started peeling off in patches. She was live streaming energetically, promoting a bunch of unregulated products. Not long after, he said an investor had taken a liking to her and wanted to help her debut. He said I have a first love face and wants me to sign a contract. Oh, I'm so conflicted. Should I do it or not? I heard that boss's name and immediately felt a chill run through my body. That man is a notorious pimp who has managed many obscure female internet celebrities, all of whom took the wrong path. They accompanied clients to drink, shared beds, and kept directors company. Many were dumped halfway through for various reasons. The most tragic one jumped to his death, and his family has yet to achieve justice. At first, I thought I would only be in trouble if she got involved with those few black international students, but now I understand. It's not the people, but the system. As long as the system remains, she will have no fear, because I am the only one who will suffer. I started having insomnia, staring at the ceiling all night long, lost in thought. I can't go on like this anymore. Sometimes, I even think about slipping her some medication, or slashing her neck, so we both perish together, but I don't dare. This system is too sinister. Maybe if I try to kill her, the only one who dies will still be me. I got out of bed in the middle of the night to drink some water, holding the cup and pondering for a few seconds. Suddenly, I froze. I think I know how to solve this. The next day, I took the initiative to talk to her and encouraged her to debut. I really think you should give it a try. Your skin is so flawless, and you have such a great presence. You're bound to become popular. She glanced at me suspiciously and said nothing. A few days later, that pimp-like investor showed up at her door. He stared at Fiona with a greasy look and patted his chest, assuring her, "Our Fiona is definitely a gem. Come with me, and I guarantee you'll become famous." That evening, the investor took her to meet 3 men. They were 3 pot-bellied, overweight men, spouting vulgar remarks. A chubby man grinned, handing over a large glass of red wine. "Fiona, I heard you're a real drinker. Come on, down this one first." Another chimed in. "The few of us brothers came here today just for you. We heard you can drink anything, right?" Fiona smiled charmingly and raised her glass without hesitation. "I have a high tolerance for alcohol." "Good for you." The men clapped while signaling the waiter for another round. "Now that's the stuff of someone who truly wants to be famous." I was in the dormitory at that time, and a wave of nausea hit me. I bent over and retched, my stomach churning violently. Then came the second round, the third round. They poured it into her, but I was the one vomiting. My face turned pale, my vision darkened, and my knees began to buckle. Fiona, on the other hand, still wore a radiant smile. The 3 stout men exchanged sinister glances, and one of them brought a glass of yellowish, pungent liquid to her lips. "Fiona, this drink, I prepared it especially for you. Once you finish this glass, we can talk about your debut." Fiona took the glass indifferently. "Well, you better not lie to me, brother." She smiled and drank it, but the next second, she suddenly covered her mouth. Her face instantly turning pale, she staggered a step, leaned on the table, bent over, and kept retching. The investor laughed heartily. "Yo, Fiona, you can't hold your liquor." A fat man was laughing so hard he was doubled over, while another started to egg him on. "Another round. This is nothing. If you want to be famous, you've got to go all out." Fiona's eyes, reddened from vomiting, were filled with disbelief at the same time. I was sitting in the dormitory, expressionless. That overwhelming nausea has disappeared. Now it's my turn to fight back. I picked up the bottles of alcohol on the table, 1 bottle of white liquor, 2 bottles of red wine, and a few cans of beer. I mixed them together and drank it all down. Sure enough, I feel nothing in my stomach. I opened another bottle, mixed it with cola, and savored it with enjoyment. I don't know how much I actually drank. In short, the empty bottles were lined up. But I had never been more clear-headed, and over there, Fiona couldn't hold on any longer. The 3 fat men exchanged glances and laughed without restraint. They stood up and pulled her off the sofa. Her body was as soft as if she had no bones, her head tilted to one side, and she was still mumbling something unconsciously. The waiter pretended not to see, and the people around kept their heads down, drinking their own drinks, with no one asking a single question. She was dragged out of the private room and thrown into a car. The next morning, Fiona pushed open the dormitory door. Her eyes were dark and sunken, her face deathly pale, and she could barely stand. She went crazy when she saw me, shouting at me, "What did you do? What the hell did you do?" She screamed halfway, then crouched down, clutching her stomach. It hurts so much." I took a leisurely sip of beer and smiled easily. "I didn't do anything. Didn't you have a great time last night?" She would never have imagined what I connected that system to. Fiona's life took a turn for the worse. She got out of bed sluggishly every day. At first, she could still force herself to go to class later. She simply stopped going and stayed in the dorm every day, clutching her stomach and crying softly every time she cried. I laughed. "Does it hurt? Is it uncomfortable?" "Serves them right." Bob finally couldn't hold back and came to confront me angrily. "Wendy, what exactly did you do to Fiona?" I raised an eyebrow at him. "What do you mean?" "Stop pretending," he roared. "She's in so much pain she's almost dying. With a fever of 40 degrees, you did this, didn't you?" I couldn't help but laugh at his frantic expression. "What did I do?" I retorted innocently. "Bob, why are you talking nonsense? I attend classes with you every day. Where could I possibly go to do something bad?" He gritted his teeth. "The system, that system. Did you transfer all your illnesses to her?" I pretended to be clueless and widened my eyes. "You mean the system? Transfer? What is that? Shouldn't you go see a psychiatrist?" I gave him back every single word he had once cursed me with. He stared at me but couldn't utter a single word. In my previous life, I told him I suspected the system had transferred Fiona's illness to me, and he immediately called me crazy. Now, Fiona must have said something to him, and he came to question me with unwavering belief. "Ask away." "Anyway, I know nothing." Fiona didn't dare to go to the hospital. She curled up in bed every day, covering herself tightly with the blanket. Soon, a foul odor began to emanate from her bed, especially after she used the toilet, and indescribable smell lingered in the bathroom, like that of rotting fish. At first, it was just our dorm, but later, the entire floor could smell it. Someone posted anonymously on the campus forum, "Building 8, second floor is fucking disgusting." Did someone smear shit on the walls? A few more days passed, and her hair started to fall out. Every morning when she woke up, there were large clumps of hair on her pillow. She was almost on the verge of a breakdown and asked me, "Wendy, what exactly did you do to me. I looked at her gently. I didn't do anything. Aren't we on good terms? I even supported your debut. Of course, she knew I had cracked the system, but she couldn't figure out why the system had suddenly failed. One day, for some unknown reason, she started buying a bunch of alcohol again and brought it back to the dorm to drink. She drank while staring at me. I glanced at her in confusion and went back to reading. Not long after, she rushed to the bathroom and threw up violently. I closed the book cheerfully and went for a run on the playground. I secretly installed a camera on the dormitory desk. Sure enough, the video showed her drinking from my water cup, lying on my bed when I was away, and even going through my wardrobe to wear my clothes, even walking around in my slippers. She wanted to reconnect the system and transfer those illnesses to me. I almost threw up. Never mind that the system had long been disconnected. What she was doing was completely futile, having such a massive source of contamination touching and handling things all over my space is something most people couldn't stand, but I had already troubled my parents once before, and something as minor as changing dorms shouldn't be something I bother them with again, so I just moved out to live on my own. Not long after, the other roommates also lost it. I'm going crazy. The smell in our dorm, if you didn't know better, you'd think a septic tank exploded. Fiona, can you please wash up? We've had enough. We want to change dorms. Even the dorm supervisor couldn't stand the smell and started scolding from the doorway. In my 20 years on the job, I've never seen a girl's dorm this smelly. Fiona, did you forget to flush after using the toilet? They complained directly to the counselor, who came to the dorm in person and was nearly knocked over by the smell as soon as the door opened. The counselor covered his nose and looked at Fiona. What's going on? This smell in the dorm is coming from you, isn't it? Are you sick or something? Fiona covered her mouth, shaking her head desperately. I just have a bit of a cold. The counselor's face turned pale. I don't care if it's a cold or something else. You must go to the hospital for a checkup today. If you have an infectious disease, the entire building 8 will be sealed off. I won't go. Fiona suddenly cried out loudly. I can't go to the hospital. I'm about to debut. If I go to the hospital, it's all over. She is completely distraught now. She knows that as soon as the hospital runs tests, none of her illnesses will remain hidden. Her live streaming career is over, and her debut is out of the question. Just at this moment, that investor appeared again. The man cheerfully called her. Oh, Fiona, Big Brother has arranged some great resources for you again. Meet the big boss tonight, and our path will be smooth. The big boss is the wealthiest backer in our circle and is currently looking to promote a newcomer. You, my dear, should seize this opportunity. At this point, her face had already started peeling, and her back was covered in festering rashes, but she was still beaming with joy. Great, I'll definitely come. Fiona sprayed half a bottle of perfume on herself. Then, she covered the pimples on her face layer by layer with concealer, applied false eyelashes, painted on bright red lipstick, and wobbled out the door. She had endured so many days just for this opportunity tonight. As soon as she entered the private room, the so-called Big Brother frowned and waved his hand through the air. Who has the smell? Like a dead rat fermenting. The investor pointed at her with a chuckle. This is the little beauty I was talking about, so pure and innocent. Her name is Fiona. Before he could finish, the boss's face fell. Are you out of your mind? How dare you bring this kind of trash to me, with this foul smell? Is she afraid people won't know she's sick? Is she deliberately trying to disgust everyone? Get out! Before Fiona could even say a word, she was kicked out of the private room. She sat alone by the roadside and cried for half the night, weeping until dawn. The next day, I went to class as usual. As soon as I reached the classroom door, I saw Fiona, who had been waiting there for a long time. The moment she saw me, she dropped to her knees in front of me. Wendy, please, I beg you, let me go. I know it was you. I know you cracked the system. You transferred all those illnesses to me. Please, let me go. Isn't it enough that I'm kneeling for you? I really can't take it anymore. I pretended not to know and quickly helped her up. What are you doing? What did I do? She looked at me desperately. You know exactly. It's that system. You reverse-bound the system, didn't you? I looked at her in confusion. System? What system? She had no choice but to explain the principles of the system to me from start to finish, stumbling over her words. I widened my eyes. Is that even possible? So that means any injuries or illnesses I have will be transferred to you. She could only nod through her tears. I looked at her, then pulled a utility knife out of my backpack. Then, in front of everyone watching, I unhesitatingly made a cut on my own arm. Blood immediately welled up and dripped onto the ground. I raised my arm. I'm asking you, does it hurt? She froze. Her entire face drained of color. She didn't dare speak, because she felt no pain at all. Pain. Not transferred, I smiled. Didn't you say we were bound? So if I'm hurt, shouldn't you feel the pain? She was completely stunned, staring at her own arm. She had no idea what was going on. Why? It should have been me who cracked the system and transferred my illness to her, I said calmly. It seems that all that talk about system transfers was just made up. I suggest you go to the hospital as soon as possible, get your body checked first, and then your brain. After saying that, I didn't look at her again and walked away. Fiona finally couldn't hold on any longer and went to the hospital. The doctor frowned after reviewing the test results. This isn't a common infection, it's a sexually transmitted disease, and a mixed infection at that. How did a young girl like you end up like this, almost on the very same day? It spread across the school's campus network. Fiona got a nasty disease from fooling around. Is this the true face of the innocent campus belle? I'm disgusted. Can someone go to Building 8 and splash a bucket of bleach? Don't let it affect the other girls. Bob was also panicked. He had been running a fever every day recently, and rashes had started to appear on his body. He secretly went to the hospital. As it turned out, he had also been infected. The moment the diagnosis report came out, he was completely stunned. He came to me looking miserable. Did you do something to me too? Is this your revenge? I looked up and smiled. Bob, do you have no idea what you've done yourself? You and Fiona got together, probably did something despicable, and ended up getting sick, and now you're saying it's my revenge. If I had that kind of ability, I would have long since had a car run over you two scumbags, I said, word by word. You're filthy, you know that. Stay away from me from now on. I find you disgusting. He was left speechless by my scolding and slunk away. Fiona, on the other hand, remained in the hospital for treatment, receiving daily 4 drips, medication, and injections. She had thought that the most painful days were finally over. She had even naively believed that as long as she focused on treatment and survived this ordeal, there was still hope for the future. But just a few days later, the situation suddenly changed. The symptoms that had started to improve suddenly relapsed overnight, becoming even more severe. Black spots appeared on the festering skin, and her eyes began to ooze pus. The doctor examined her again, and the test results came back HIV positive. Her ears buzzed, and she couldn't hear anything the doctor said afterward. The doctor had to notify her family. Her parents rushed over from the countryside, and her mother burst into tears as soon as she saw her daughter in that state. When her father saw the word AIDS, his face instantly darkened, and he slapped her across the face. We worked ourselves to the bone to put you through college, and you go fooling around with men and catch this kind of disease. Have you no shame? Her mother also cried and scolded. Didn't you say you were studying hard at school? What on earth have you done? Do you know how we scraped together 20,000 yuan a year for your tuition? What shameful things have you been up to? You say you've got this illness. How are you supposed to get married now, without your bride price? How will your brother ever get a wife? How are we supposed to face people in the village? Do you want our family line to end with you? Fiona curled up on the hospital bed, sobbing uncontrollably. I really didn't. I didn't do anything wrong. But no one believed her. The doctors didn't believe her. The nurses didn't believe her. Her parents didn't believe her. The whole world didn't believe her. She completely broke down. Why did it turn out like this? Only I know that she wasn't lying. This illness she got this time really wasn't her fault, because it was infected by the system. This system operates by using shared items as a medium. In the previous life, she connected to the system through my water cup, transferring all her illnesses and injuries to me. She lived a glamorous life by stealing my health, while I died in the hospital. In this life, I have a second chance, and I must pay it back. On the evening of her first meeting with the investors, I used her water glass for an experiment. I drank alcohol, took expired medication, and cut myself. All the side effects landed precisely and accurately on Fiona, and I, completely fine. The system is verified without error. However, for me, this system holds no practical significance, because I am not the type of person who harms myself to assert my individuality. So I smashed the water cup, severing the connection. But I didn't stop there. At the moment the shards of the cup scattered, a flash of inspiration struck me. I thought of a more interesting way to play. I rebound the system to another carrier. It was an inflatable doll. For the first time in my life, I entered an adult store, and then I carefully stuffed the shattered pieces of the cup into the inside of an inflatable doll. The water cup, which still carried her scent, had a physical connection with her. I was just running a test, but unexpectedly, the system was actually manipulated by me. All the harm that this doll suffered was fully transferred to Fiona. This is not me cursing her. She brought this upon herself. I don't know where that sex doll is now, who bought it, who used it, how many times it was used, or in what ways. I have no idea at all. Anyway, it's always being used, otherwise, Fiona wouldn't be getting worse and worse. She was getting sicker and worse. It started with skin ulcers, then black spots began to appear all over her body, her eyes turned red and oozed pus, her gums festered, and her throat rotted, leaving her unable to speak. She lay on the hospital bed, tubes inserted all over her body, her gaze unfocused, barely resembling a human anymore. At first, the doctors thought it was just late-stage immunodeficiency. But eventually, even they couldn't bear to look. She seems completely possessed. I've seen many AIDS patients, but I've never seen the condition deteriorate so rapidly. In the hospital room, the smell of disinfectant, medicine, and the foul odor emanating from her body mixed together, making even the nurses reluctant to stay. Her parents were completely devastated. Her father, drunk, yelled, "I shouldn't have let you go to college. It would have been better to let you farm the fields for the rest of your life. At least you'd die clean." Her mother, eyes swollen from crying, "What kind of thing have we raised? You might as well die early and be done with it." Her mother cried and cried, then suddenly stopped. She looked at her daughter and murmured, "You'd be of some use if you were dead. Alive, you're just a burden." They started asking around to see if there were any matchmakers for ghost marriages in the remote villages back home. Such things happen from time to time. If a family's son dies young, the family can't bear to let him go and always wants to find a new bride for him to have a ghost marriage. Some offer money, others provide a betrothal gift, but the matchmaker wasn't foolish either. When she asked to video chat with the chosen bride and saw Fiona's condition, she immediately hung up the phone. She lay motionless on the bed, her face covered in pustules and scabs, tears silently streaming down. No one came near her anymore. Even the doctors began to keep their distance. She was left like trash in a corner, waiting to die, but she didn't know why, just like me. In my previous life, I didn't know why either. I recalled the past. Back then, I was also this sick. It started with just a low fever and fatigue, then came hair loss, vomiting, and a body covered in rashes. Later, it turned into sores, and finally, decay. Everyone said I was unclean, that I had a sexually transmitted disease, that I was dirty, that I brought it upon myself. I cried out desperately. I didn't. I'm not that kind of person. No one believed me. No one asked me why. They just saw me as a joke and a disgrace. Fiona laughed the loudest. She said with disgust that I deserved it, that I was disgusting, that I had brought shame to the school, and that I would only be clean if I died. Then, she and Bob took graduation photos together in their academic gowns, looking splendid and dignified. My parents, however, committed suicide by jumping off a building. This time, it was finally Fiona's turn. Another month passed, and her condition worsened again. She died in the early morning, from liver failure complicated by sepsis, and efforts to save her were unsuccessful. Her parents said nothing, quickly signed the cremation papers, didn't even take the ashes, and returned to their rural hometown overnight. Bob wasn't much better off. After being diagnosed with the infection, his face swelled up, and his hair fell out in clumps. He has to get a shot every week and take a large amount of medication, the side effects leaving him weak all over. Friends who were once close to him began to distance themselves, and his academic advisor suggested he take a voluntary leave of absence to go home and recuperate. In the end, he was forced to drop out of school. Before leaving, he frantically called me, saying he wanted to see me one last time. I happened to go on a trip to relax and blocked him. Just as I returned from my trip, another big news broke out at the school. A student reported to the police, saying they had found dismembered bodies in the back hill. That patch of woods had long been abandoned, and few people went there. It just so happened that some students had sneaked to the back hill to smoke that day and saw a pile of eerie dismembered limbs, which scared them so much their legs went weak. The police arrived quickly and set up a cordon. After inspection, they discovered it wasn't a corpse but a dismembered inflatable doll. The police followed the leads and traced the purchase records. It was bought by the four guys from room 314 in the second male dormitory building. They secretly pooled their money to buy the doll and kept it hidden in their dorm room. The school suddenly announced a dormitory inspection, and with such a large doll having nowhere to hide, they were afraid of being punished, so they chopped it into pieces and threw it into the back hills. The campus forum exploded with discussions. Room 314 is really perverted. Who would buy dolls together as a group of four? I'm disgusted. Can we pass a law to ban these dirty things in the male dorm, you guys? Really know how to have fun. What a den of iniquity. What concerned me the most were the four names on the public reprimand notice. I remember those guys very clearly. In my past life, they were the ones constantly fawning over Fiona in her posts, calling her their white moonlight, the pure senior, the perfect goddess. It was also them who, when I was targeted by fabricated slander, joined in the mockery, called me filth, and told me to get out of school. But in this life, Fiona died at their Hence, that doll is the vessel for my transferred system, as they used that thing to do those disgusting things. Fiona's illness gradually worsened until her entire body rotted away. The goddess they adored was ultimately destroyed by their collective actions. This is retribution, and I, at last, can finally relax. I won awards and competitions and got into a prestigious university for graduate studies. I want to say, one should not mistake filth for free-spiritedness, or vulgarity for individuality. A life of indulgence does not bring freedom, it only destroys oneself. Some evil consequences are bound to be repaid sooner or later. September, the new semester. I carried my luggage upstairs, pushed open the dorm room door, and my roommate was already there, greeting me with a smile. In that instant, I remembered many years ago, on the first day of freshman year, Fiona walked into the dorm room dragging a pink suitcase. Smiling innocently. Back then, she was actually quite naive, at least she seemed that way. Just later, she chose the wrong path out of vanity, greed, or perhaps pure malice. I suddenly wonder, in her final moments, did she remember that bright, clear morning when we first started school? Did she recall the first meal we shared in the cafeteria? Maybe she did, maybe not, but none of that matters anymore. I sat at my desk, watching the lively messages in the freshman group chat. A new environment, a new life awaits me. I don't need to look back anymore. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.